Welcome back to Simply Home and Harvest. I'm Jen, and today I've got some really delicious recipes for you using your garden using your garden flags. Today I have some delicious recipes to share with you using your garden fresh veggies. So if you have got lots producing in your garden, I'm sure you've got a lot of these probably. If you have a summer garden, maybe you have some squash. So if you have an abundance of vegetables and you're looking for some ways to use them for dinner, stick around. I've got some ideas for you today. Now, these are dinners that we had over 3 or 4 nights span. So I'm going to show you first how to make a very simple dinner. We're gonna have tachos. Yes, you heard that right. Tachos, not nachos, but tachos. And then I also added some zucchini fritters in with that. And then another night we had a sheet pan dinner with some chicken thighs. We used up some red potatoes that we grew in our garden. And then finally, I'm gonna show you the most delicious squash casserole. So tonight I wanted to try a new recipe for zucchini fritters because I had some zucchini that I need to use up. And I was trying to think, what main dish could I put with zucchini fritters? And I haven't been to the grocery store for like a big grocery shop in a week or so. And so I just started going to the freezer to see what we had on hand, and I saw that we had tater tots and we had some already cooked cheeseburger slider meat that we had left over that needed to be used in our freezer. And so I thought, I'm gonna make tachos. So I don't know if I've ever seen this anywhere, if I came up with that, or if I've seen it somewhere before and it's in my head. So tachos are like nachos, but without the nacho chips, we're going to use tater tots instead. That's the plan for tonight. All right, so I'm trying to debate. I guess I'll do the whole bag. So we're just going to go ahead and put these in the oven for a little while and let them go ahead and cook first. And then this meat is already cooked, so it will need to be heated through. And then I'll pull them out, put the meat on for a little while. And then the last step will be cheese, and then we can add lettuce, tomato, sour cream, whatever. All right, so I'm preheating my oven to 425 degrees. Like I said, this is called using what you have on hand. All right, our oven is preheated to 425, so we're gonna put these in for about 20 minutes. All right, we're gonna go ahead and move on to our zucchini fritters while we're waiting there for our tater tots. The first thing we're gonna do is we're going to shred, or grate rather, we're gonna grate up 2 zucchini. Now, I did not grow these in my garden this year. I decided to take a break from the zucchini because we had some in our freezer from last year that we still had not gone through. I did grow squash, and you can see on the counter that we are still getting squash from our garden, which has been a tremendous blessing this year. I've even been able to give some of that away. Zucchini and squash, we probably use squash and more around here than zucchini that people will eat, but really we don't have a lot of squash and zucchini eaters in this house. I'm hoping that tonight that will change with these, because I think even Tim will like this recipe. I mentioned it to him today, and he said, I think I'll try that. So hopefully he won't forget that he did tell me that he would try it. But I thought it would be fun this week just to make a few meals using what we have grown in our garden. And this is not something we're growing this year, but if you are growing zucchini. Right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get that into this bowl. That's about 3.5 cups is what it should have ended up being. I didn't measure it, but we're just going to call it 3.5 cups. There is something I forgot to do, and that is to get some oil going on the stove to fry these zucchini fritters. So let's go ahead and get that oil go ahead and get that going. I'm just going to use my Dutch oven here, and I'm going to put about 1.5 inches of oil just to cover the bottom. I could have used my cast iron, but that way this will be deep enough that maybe we won't have a lot of splatter. Yes, that is something that you should probably do first. Okay, I'm gonna crack one of our farm fresh eggs into this bowl, and then that's going into our zucchini here. Our recipe calls for 2/3 cup of shredded cheddar cheese. I've got a blend of cheddar and Monterey Jack here that, I think this is Colby Jack actually, that I had on hand. That's what I'm gonna use. Then it also calls for 2/3 of a cup of crushed Ritz crackers. So I'm gonna see if I have 2/3 of a cup here. We might have to crush up some more. Yeah, I think we're gonna need a few more. Just thought it would be easier probably to do them in the Ziploc bag. You could also use a chopper or food processor or something. You wanted to pull that out, but I don't really want to dirty that today, so we'll just do it this way. All right, that's about right. All right, I think that's good. We're gonna dump that into our mixture, and then you can, it says it's optional, you can add some salt. I think we will season this a bit. Add some salt to it, some pepper. I think I'm gonna even add some of our, get it out. I think I'm gonna add some of our garlic and herb seasoning. Y'all know how much I love this stuff. And then this will be the interesting part. So we've got to form these into patties. All right, I'm gonna put a piece of wax paper down, and I'll do it this way so you can see it. Okay, so just make little patties out of this. That wasn't too bad. It is sticking to itself. So that is a good thing. This is a recipe I've been wanting to try for so long. I'm glad that I'm getting to finally try this out. Knowing you guys are watching helps me to come up with recipes and try new things that I probably wouldn't otherwise try. But I know that if my family doesn't like them, that chances are someone watching will try them out and have a new recipe for their family. Kind of reminds me of potato cakes, which I don't make those very often. Very rarely, actually. Maybe I've made potato cakes once or twice in my life. That's what it reminds me of a little. I'm gonna set that to the side for a second because we're gonna go ahead and dress our tachos here with our slider meat. Might end up being like those chili tots that you get from Sonic, or that you can get from Sonic. I don't know that I've ever gotten them, but for some reason it reminds me of that commercial. All I know is it's going to be a good use of our leftovers, and you know, kind of a take on the tater tot casserole. That's kind of what I was thinking. All right, so back in the oven, they're going to go to cook a little bit longer, and then we'll add that cheese on at the very end. It appears that our oil is ready. Tested it by adding some water, see how it's sizzling up. So we're going to go ahead and try spatula and lower them down. I think I've got too much oil in there. I don't think I needed quite that much. We're going to let that fry 3 minutes on each side. Check that one, see if I can turn it without it falling apart. That's going to be the hard part. I'm going to let them go for another minute before I turn the others. We're going to go ahead and throw some cheese on top of this. You can see that things are toasting up very nicely. Some extra over here. All right, we're just going to throw this back in there long enough to melt that cheese, and then dinner will be almost done. Tonight's very simple supper for a not too hungry crowd. I did add some lettuce, some garden fresh tomatoes, and garden fresh cucumbers over here. But I thought the lettuce and tomato and the sour cream will be a good complement to our tacos. And the sour cream might go good with the fritters too. Tried the zucchini fritter and he said not bad.
It's all right. Tastes like a potato cake.
Yeah, so that is a win, folks. We will take it. So for tonight's dinner, we had some boneless, skinless chicken thighs in the freezer that I probably should have only pulled out one pack of. They looked like they were smaller, and then I realized that, you know, you spread them out and they are larger pieces of chicken once you get them out of the package. So this is 2 small packages of boneless, skinless chicken thighs that I am going to have to obviously get more olive oil, but I'm going to dredge with olive oil, get these coated really well, and then I'm going to use some lemon pepper seasoning. This is the seasoning from Aldi that is salt-free. I'm going to use that, season this chicken really well. Then we're going to cook this in the oven, 400 degrees till it's done. I'm going to say right around 30-35 minutes. Maybe we'll check the temperature on it. And my plan was to add some potatoes and carrots. This is a garden dinner, so we're just going to use our garden fresh potatoes with this and just do like a sheet pan dinner. But obviously this took up more space than I had intended, so I'm going to have to do those on a separate sheet. I'm just going to go in with some, this is avocado oil that I had upstairs. So let's just go ahead and get that all rubbed in there. And these are still frozen a little bit too. So they may have to cook a little bit longer. All right, I'm gonna wash my hands really good, then we're gonna season them. The good news is that we will have chicken for a couple of nights. I'm gonna heavenly season these. All right, go ahead and get these into the oven. So we're also going to use our garden fresh red potatoes, and I just harvested some rosemary from our herb garden. So we're gonna go ahead and get that on our pan, toss it with a little bit of olive oil, season it, and then these are just store-bought carrots. If you didn't see our potato harvest, I'll have to pop a picture up so you can see. That was one of my favorite things that we've harvested this year. I think it's been our most abundant harvest, and we just really did well with red potatoes. I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm cutting the ends off these potatoes and I don't know why. This is what happens when you do more than one thing at a time, I guess. Okay, just ignore that. But we harvested a good amount of Yukon Gold potatoes and red potatoes, and we will have a nice supply of those to get us probably through the fall season. I am keeping them in the unfinished part of our basement in a dark corner, and they are covered so they don't get any sunlight, and hopefully that will keep them from turning green, because I did have that happen last year and it was very disappointing. I don't want that to happen again. There are some bad spots, so we'll take some time to cut those off as well. Tim texted, said he was starving. Ella is hungry. Alex is probably hungry too. So I decided to go ahead and put some baked beans on the stove to go with our corn, our potatoes, carrots, and of course the chicken. But I thought we need a bread. I didn't have any rolls made up. I didn't have any in the freezer. So I'm gonna do my go-to quick sour cream biscuit recipe. This is an old Paula Deen recipe. It came out of one of her Christmas cookbooks years ago, and they're called sour cream butter biscuits. And I just cut the recipe in half, and I bake them in this little mini muffin tin because it gets the job done a whole lot quicker. They're little bite-sized biscuits, and the family loves them. So that's what we're gonna do. I have softened a stick of butter. So in a bowl, I'm going to cut our flour and our butter together. So 1 cup of self-rising. Now that's the trick. Self-rising flour, and then a softened stick of butter. And of course, I'm going to use this butter paper to grease my muffin tin in just a second. And for the sake of time tonight, I'm just going to kind of take a knife and cut this together. A knife. This is a fork, clearly. That's what happens when I'm in a hurry. My brain gets jumbled up. We'll see if we can do this with a fork and not have to pull out our pastry blender. I think it will get the job done. And I just softened our butter in the microwave. It's been raining here all day, so it's just super dark in my kitchen right now. Hopefully the lighting is good enough for you to see what I'm doing. I also thought about making another blackberry cobbler. I did make one a couple nights ago because one of Tim's coworkers had brought him some blackberries, and he loves blackberry cobbler. It's one of his favorite desserts. And so I made him one, and I think there's 1 piece left, and there's still blackberries left, and he was like, make another cobbler. So thought about doing that. I might do it, just go ahead and put it in the oven for later, or I might just wait and do it later this weekend. I don't know. I'm sure everybody will be wanting something sweet later because, like I said, it's been rainy all day. It's been cooler today. It's only been in the 70s. We've been used to the upper 90s. and sunshine for a couple weeks now. So we just feel like it's October today instead of August. I even got my pumpkin candle, or not pumpkin candle, but pumpkin warmer going at my Max. Well, I'm having a hard time talking. I've got pumpkin scent warmers going. Probably gonna talk it. Okay, so Tim texted, said he was starving. Ella is hungry. Alex is probably hungry too. So I decided to go ahead and put some baked beans on the stove to go with our corn, our potatoes, carrots, and of course the chicken. But I thought we need a bread. I didn't have any rolls made up. I didn't have any in the freezer. So I'm gonna do my go-to quick sour cream biscuit recipe. This is an old Paula Deen recipe. It came out of one of her Christmas cookbooks years ago, and they're called sour cream butter biscuits. And I just cut the recipe in half, and I bake them in this little mini muffin tin because it gets the job done a whole lot quicker. They're little bite-sized biscuits, and the family loves them. So that's what we're gonna do. I have softened a stick of butter, and let's see. Hang on. Let me just see. All right, let's set this aside. Okay, so in a bowl, I'm going to cut our flour and our butter together. So 1 cup of self-rising. Now that's the trick. Self-rising flour, and then a softened stick of butter. And of course, I'm going to use this butter paper to grease my muffin tin in just a second. And for the sake of time tonight, I'm just going to kind of take a knife and cut this together. A knife. This is a fork, clearly. That's what happens when I'm in a hurry. My brain gets jumbled up. We'll see if we can do this with a fork and not have to pull out our pastry blender. I think it'll get the job done. And I just softened our butter in the microwave. It's been raining here all day, so it's just super dark in my kitchen right now. Hopefully the lighting is good enough for you to see what I'm doing. Also thought about making another blackberry cobbler. I did make one a couple nights ago because one of Tim's coworkers had brought him some blackberries, and he loves blackberry cobbler. It's one of his favorite desserts. And so I made him one, and I think there's 1 piece left, and there's still blackberries left, and he was like, make another cobbler. So thought about doing that. I might do it, just go ahead and put it in the oven for later, or I might just wait and do it later this weekend. I don't know. I'm sure everybody will be wanting something sweet later because, like I said, it's been rainy all day. It's been cooler today. It's only been in the 70s. We've been used to the upper 90s and sunshine for a couple weeks now. So we just feel like it's October today instead of August. I even got my pumpkin candle, or not pumpkin candle, but pumpkin warmer going. That's pretty good. Now that we have this all crumbly and cut in, just use my hand to crumble that a little bit more. You want it to be like a biscuit, because it is biscuit dough. You want it to be like a biscuit dough. All right, now, all you're gonna do is add in 1/2 cup of sour cream. Thankfully, I did have some sour cream in the fridge. That is not always the case. So I was thankful tonight to have that on hand. All right. And we're just gonna mix this together. It's gonna be more of like a wet dough. Now, you could add, if you wanted these to be cheesy, you could add some shredded cheese to this. Never tried that before, but it just came to me that that would be really good. Might have to try that sometime. Okay. I'm a little messy tonight because I'm in a hurry. One thing I know is when dinner is late, and a lot of times it is if I'm trying to record a video, that tempers sometimes can flare. People get hangry. What I'm gonna do now is take our butter paper and I'm just gonna grease our muffin tin. Okay, if you make a mess, we're just gonna get the job done. Now, having one of these scoops is what makes this so incredibly easy, because all I'm gonna do is just scoop and plop into our little mini muffin tin. Ready to come out of the oven now, then we'll put these in at 400 degrees for about 8 to 10 minutes. Dinner is served. Tim was so excited to get home and see chicken thighs.
Love chicken thighs. My favorite food.
I did go ahead and cook them to about 170 degrees. They should have been done at 165, but it went over a little bit longer. I think they are nice and done. And then here's our sour cream butter biscuits. One is missing. How in the world did that happen?
I don't know.
I think I found the culprits right there.
I don't know what you're talking about.
And our corn and baked beans. Looks like a good dinner tonight. So the last garden recipe that I'd like to share with you today is a squash casserole. This is actually my mom's recipe and one that we have enjoyed in our family for many, many years. And so I've got a couple of yellow squash that we grew in our garden this year along with an onion, and I'm just getting the squash and the onion chopped up. This is about 2 medium-sized squash and then 1 medium onion. And you just want to chop those into bite-sized pieces. Now you just want to cover your squash and onions with water, and I just boil these until they are tender, right around maybe 7 or 8 minutes. After that, you just want to carefully drain off the water, and then it's time to start preparing your squash for the casserole. Now, while my squash is still very hot, I add a stick of butter, and then I put the lid back on and just give it a few minutes, let that butter go ahead and melt before I add the rest of my ingredients. Okay, so I have greased my baking dish. Now, I'm using just a standard Pyrex dish, but I have used a 13x9 baking dish. I've used an 8x8 baking dish. So just depending on how much squash you are cooking, that's kind of how I judge what size dish to use. Now, to my squash, I have added 8 ounces of sour cream, a can of cream of chicken, and then I'm just gonna add some seasonings, some salt and pepper, and then some of that garlic herb seasoning that y'all know I love. I think I've finished it off with this recipe. I'll have to go to Aldi and grab some more. Now that we've poured our squash mixture into our baking dish, it's time to top it, and I'm just using some leftover stuffing mix that I had in the pantry. You could use some breadcrumbs. I moistened it a little bit with some chicken stock and I've added it to my oven. I'm going to cook that now for about 30 minutes at 350 degrees. Y'all, this is one of my favorite recipes for squash. I have been eating it like this for years. If I can't cook it fresh and saute it with some peppers and onions and zucchini, this is the other way that I really like to enjoy it. So make sure you give this recipe a try and let me know in the comments what you think. Thank you all for joining me today. I hope these recipes inspired you to use your garden fresh veggies to create some new recipes maybe. If you do try those, make sure that you let me know in the comments below because I love hearing from you all. And if you're new here, I'd love for you to stick around, so don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, maybe even share it with your friends. That would be awesome too. So until next time, I hope that you will remember to live simply, use what you have, enjoy the moments you've been given, and I will see you all in the next one.